Anyone can make someone Muslim, but keeping someone Muslim? That's where the main job is. And when you contribute to someone learning Islam, you not only get the reward of everything they do from that point onwards, but what their kids do, and what their kids do, and so on. It is the best kind of investment a person can make. So help the scores of people that have accepted Islam in Africa, protect them from these missionaries and these liberals by clicking the link below.
to Jannah.
Do you think there was ever anyone else like Muhammad who tried to do the same thing before Muhammad? Who said that he had spoken to God, who said that he has a vision, who said that he is a prophet now?
Yeah, so that's a very good point. So when someone claims this,
Yes.
Jarvis, number one, you need to look at the prophecies he's making. Like Nostradamus, he claimed to be a prophet. Yeah, he said 2012 is going to be the end.
Yes.
But 2012 wasn't the end. You got prophecies by I Ching, the Mayans. Yeah, so the thing with prophecies is when somebody makes a prophecy or a claim, that's the evidence that they can bring. And there's certain criteria to certain prophecies. Yeah, their prophecies were very vague. So, oh, this is going to happen here, this is going to happen there. You analyze the prophecies of the individual. You look at the character of the person. Like if the person haphazardly decides to be a prophet, okay, is there a mental issue going on here? Like how are they deemed in society? The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, with him, people called him all sorts of things.
Yeah, he was banned, right? He was banished from his...
Yeah, he was banished from Mecca. They called him all sorts of things, but they never called him a liar. Muhammad, in fact, ascended the mountain and he said, if I told you that an army was coming, would you believe and accept what I'm saying? They would say, yes, then accept me as a prophet. But because there was a cultural attachment to them believing in idols and there was a financial gain, they refused. So when we analyze the prophecies of the Prophet, and we will go through those prophecies, and you know what? I'm so glad you're asking these questions. This is good. Because if you just wanted to palm me off and say, oh, he's another religious guy and this, that, I want you to ask me these questions. But when you hear a good response, I like what you're doing, you're saying, okay, that's a good response. Okay, let's move on to the next point. Because you're right. Somebody can come and someone can say, I'm a prophet, I'm this, I'm that. The Prophet, peace be upon him, there's a prophecy of his. He says, at that time, the Arabs were one of the worst people. They were jokers. I'll tell you why some Arabs might be upset. Reason being, because there were two empires on the right and the left of Arabia. They were hell-bent on conquering other lands. But when it came to the Arabs, no one bothered. Because they were pathetic, they were just jahil, ignorant, ignoramuses. Yeah? So the Prophet, peace be upon him, when he came to those people, one of the prophecies that he made, he said that the barefooted, unclothed herdsmen of the desert would compete with each other to make the tallest buildings. Now, at that time, the Arabs were very poor. Yeah, they were not only poor, but it was ridiculous to assume that the Bedouins, even if you look now, you go Egypt, Morocco, see Bedouins in the desert, they're simple guys, you know, with camels just walking about. The Prophet said, when he was asked, they asked him, who are the unclothed, barefoot herdsmen? He said, the Bedouins. Normally, when it comes to Nostradamus and these guys, they make general claims. It can be interpreted this way or that way. He's made a very specific claim now. The Bedouins. Okay. There were rich Arabs. He didn't refer to them. There were the Persians. He didn't refer to them. The Byzantines, the Romans. He didn't refer. So the Bedouins. At that time, oil had not been discovered. Oil has been discovered in the last 100 years. They call it black gold.
Yes, I know.
Yeah? Black gold. But before, it hadn't been discovered. It was unheard of. So look, Dubai, Bedouins, Arabs, Saudi, Bedouins, Arabs. And now, 1,000 meters against Saudi is building something called the Kingdom Tower. I think it's pretty much done now as well. It's the Kingdom Tower. This was a very specific thing. And this is something that people are actually like, wow, this is actually phenomenal. At the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, the Byzantines were at war with the Persians. Now this, whatever I'm saying, you can check this by a non-Muslim source. Yeah, it's called the Chronicles of Theophanes. He was a non-Muslim guy who verifies what's mentioned in this prophecy. It's got nothing to do with Islam, this guy Theophanes. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, at that time, the Byzantines were losing. Not only were they losing miserably. Jerusalem had fallen, the capital had fallen, Heraclius was being disgraced, and a plague had broken out. I mean, why on earth would you opt for the loser? Yeah, at that time it was ridiculous. The Quran was revealed from between 6 and 9 years. This is mapped on the Arabic of the Quran. 6 and 9 years the Byzantines would win, and that's exactly what happened. Between 6 and 9 years, the Byzantines did indeed win. So not only did the Prophet make a statement against the dominant power, but he gave a time. This is the worst thing you can do in a prophecy. Yeah, especially because I'm not sure if you're aware of cold reading.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so psychics use this, yeah, cold reading. So
if you give a time which is really specific, and if this is not
There
going
you
to
go.
happen, then all of this.
there you go. So that's, I mean, it's good you're aware of that. So that they're told not to do that, because anything, as much leeway as possible. So that actually goes against that principle, yeah, the principle of giving a time. Okay, cool. Then the Prophet, peace be upon him, then claims at a time when Muslims are losing, they're a minority. They're an absolute minority. The Prophet, peace be upon him, says, the Muslims will defeat the Romans and the Persians. Hang on a minute right here. What's going on? This guy's losing. Yeah, this guy's losing. And you have people like Barnaby Rogerson, yeah, and Andrew Louth. These guys are saying, firstly, it's like the Eskimos dreaming of taking over Russia and America, the two biggest superpowers. And they go on to say that even till today, we haven't been able to figure out how on earth that happened. And even Alphonse de Lamartine, he goes on to say that if greatness of purpose, smallness of means, and astounding results were the three measures of human genius, then who can dare to compare themselves to Muhammad, who was a philosopher, who was an orator, who was an apostle, who was a legislator. He was a warrior, he was a conqueror of ideas, and a restorer of rational dogmas. He's a non-Muslim, German philosopher. German or French? No, you know what, he's French. No, Alphonse de Lamartine. I think he's French.
I guess.
Yeah, Alphonse de Lamartine.